Where are all the remote jobs?
Oh, they're overseas and in smaller US cities because it's cheaper for companies.
Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel. It's your host London Lamborghini, and in today's video we have the one and only Kaya Abdul. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, but that's how we're gonna pronounce it anyway. Kaya makes job readiness content for TikTok and YouTube. All her links will be in the description. It is perfectly fitting for this channel where we talk a lot about career progression and climbing the corporate ladder. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, make sure you go and subscribe, give us a like, and also check out my newsletter in the description. And let's get into this video.
Where are all the remote jobs?
Oh, they're overseas and in smaller US cities because it's cheaper for companies. The first sentence of this article says remote jobs aren't disappearing. They're just moving out of expensive coastal metros like New York and San Francisco. The article goes on to say it's more cost efficient for companies to move some positions abroad as wages in the US are often double or triple those of the workers in other countries like Mexico, India, and the Philippines. And even up here, it says companies are creating new Zoom towns overseas and in the pockets of the US Midwest. Now, specifically for people who have 0 to 3 years of experience, I think it's very important to be realistic with what opportunities are accessible to you. You might see content like the video that I'm stitching right now where they're saying like, don't worry, the promised land is coming, remote opportunities are gonna come eventually, which is true, of course. But you also have to take into consideration the fact that a lot of people have been laid off and there's a lot of highly qualified talent looking for work. Those are the people that are gonna be more likely to get the remote job over people who don't have as much experience. Because with more experience, you get more leverage. When I read this article, it kept reiterating the fact that companies are desiring people who live in smaller US cities. And almost immediately, it reminded me when I was first looking for work after I graduated college, and all the positions were in the most random places. There were so many jobs in Lebanon, New Hampshire for some reason. And of course, Groton, Connecticut, which is also like a very small, not that populated city in Connecticut. Look, there's not much in Groton, and honestly, I did not enjoy living in Connecticut. Nonetheless, after I graduated, I was very open to moving or driving as far as I had to drive because it was so hard to find an opportunity. I drove 56 minutes, 51 miles every single day from Winthrop Ave, which is in New Haven, all the way to Groton, where my company's headquarters was. Did I enjoy this long commute? Absolutely not. Did I enjoy going to Groton every day, driving in snowstorms? No, but I understood that it's what I had to do. And by doing that, I now am able to work remotely whenever I want because I have the experience, which gives me leverage. It's just some food for thought for people who are looking for work and specifically trying to target remote jobs. Some of them are being outsourced overseas, and for the ones that remain in the US, it might require you to move to a city in the middle of nowhere. And even though it sucks and absolutely nobody wants to commute to the office, trust me, I love working remote. But sometimes you really might have to just make that sacrifice of driving from New Haven all the way into Groton for the time being. Companies are telling you to your face that they want contractors. Start looking for contract jobs if you're struggling to find a job. From now up until the middle of 2024, it's going to be very hard to get full-time employment jobs. It'll be a lot easier for people to get contracts. This is a company's career page. Their career page. This is not an external page or anything like that. Contract. And let me tell you why. Layoffs across all industries are happening. Obviously, it's in the tech and media space, but it's also happening in the healthcare space. There's a biopharma layoff tracker for 2023, and recently, Pfizer made some cuts. It says right below here that Pfizer is planning to lay off around 500 of its staffers and terminate its pharmaceutical sciences small molecule functions at its facility in Sandwich, Kent in the UK, according to several media reports on Tuesday. The business scale back comes amid Pfizer's sweeping cost reduction plan announced last month, which will see the company generating $3.5 billion in saving all throughout 2024. Why do I specifically single out Pfizer? I went on Reddit literally like 5 minutes ago. You could see these posts were 6 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, and people were discussing why Pfizer is having all of these layoffs. And essentially they're saying that their CEO admitted to taking a gamble and it not working out as planned, thinking they could ride the COVID wave indefinitely. Now the lowly workers will be the ones that pay the price. They grossly overestimated the demand for the shot and Paxlovid, built up a huge stockpile that ended up getting written off due to lack of demand and expiration. He apologized to us and literally said he failed us. Most CEOs would probably lose their jobs over failing their organization. I'm not going to get too much into that. The reason why I mention that is because the same thing that those people on Reddit just spoke about is what happened in the tech industry. A lot of these CEOs overestimated demand and they overhired, which resulted in them having to lay people off in 2023 and likely a little bit into 2024. Same thing is happening in healthcare. A lot of people overestimated demand. History always repeats itself. So what do companies do? They turn to external vendors and they turn to contractors to execute any work that needs to get done for a certain period of time. Fun fact, one of my first regulatory jobs was a contract at Pfizer. Now, every time I talk about contracts, people are like, oh, it's so hard to find. Contracts aren't worth it, the benefits, blah, blah, blah. Look, if you're looking for a job right now and you're struggling to find a job, contracts should be your main focus. This person left a comment 32 minutes ago on my Instagram. I just got my first LLC and secured my first contract because of your post. If you don't believe me that contract jobs are going to be the way for at least the next 10 months, let this comment be a testament. I'm taking Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week off, as well as a week during Christmas, and a lot of people are wondering how I'm going to pay myself since I'm a contractor and I don't get PTO. There's many different ways you can go about setting up your contract, and a lot of it depends on how much you're awarded during execution of that agreement. Generally, I like to give myself a lower salary than what I've been awarded so that I have enough buffer in case I'm sick, or in case my contract is even termed early, or if I want to take a vacation or PTO. I've mentioned a few times that I use Gusto, which is just my payroll service. In Gusto, you're able to assign each of your employees a salary. I give myself a salary that is a lower percentage of the contract value. Through Gusto, I can give my S Corp the same holidays that my clients give, so it kind of matches up. That way, when I get my paycheck every 2 weeks from my S Corp, whether I took time off or it was a holiday, my pay is still the same. It's literally like working for any other company. My paychecks come out of my S Corp's bank account. As an example, let's say I'm given a contract that's $200,000. I would likely only give myself $100,000 or $150,000. So when there's a holiday, just like any other salary job, I'm still gonna get the same amount of money because I've assigned myself a specific salary through my payroll service. I know a lot of people always get concerned about getting a contract and not being able to do PTO or not being able to take a vacation or a sick day, but you actually can if you set it up the right way. I feel like people make contracts out to be a lot more scary than they are, but if you're able to find contracts that are high value and know how to manage money and use a payroll service going through the whole series of filing or starting your S Corp, I promise you it will be fine. I'm trying to decrease the amount of stress and worry that people have about working contract jobs because it's okay. It's really not that bad. I made a video about being a contractor and how I'm going to pay myself during the holidays. Some people had some follow-up questions, so I'm going to do a contractor's quick tip right now. Now we can get started. Number one, W-2 or corp to corp. Generally, when a recruiter comes to you and says they have a contract from a client, it's either going to be W-2 with the contracting company or it's going to be corp to corp, meaning they will pass a contract through your corporation. Now, when a contracting company allows you to do corp to corp, they'll have certain requirements. One of the first requirements is, what is your tax status? Is it S Corp or is it C Corp? It has to be one of the two. You have to file your S Corp or C Corp status with the IRS. This is why I keep telling people, get a tax professional so you do it the right way. No, the IRS doesn't play when it comes to collecting their money. The main difference between C Corp and S Corp is that S Corp tax status reduces your self-employment tax you pay on your individual income. C Corps are generally for more complicated businesses, like if there's an international owner in the business or if they have 100 or more shareholders. That's why I opted for S Corp status, because it's just me right now and that's what my accountant told me to do. Third quick tip, negotiate your hourly rate based on what is being asked of you. Okay, I get contracts sometimes that are more of a junior level, like they only need 3 or 4 years of experience. I have almost 10 years of experience. I don't mind taking those contracts because the work is probably easier for me. It doesn't bother me. I don't care about leveling here. I just care about what's going in my bank account. So if they ask me to do a junior level job, obviously that's a rate that's lower compared to if they're asking me to lead strategy or I'm the sole responsible party for the work being done. That's a higher rate. Always negotiate based on what is being asked of you. I never give my hourly rate until I meet with the client and I ask them what actually needs to be done. Don't be afraid to ask what the full hourly rate is, including the contracting company's %/profit. I recently just talked about this, how contracting companies will say the full hourly rate they can pay you, for example, is $100, but they might be billing your client $200 and then they're coming home with 50% of what the client was actually willing to pay for you. So I like to make sure I'm comfortable with whatever margin they're taking. At the end of the day, I know it's a business, but I think 50 to 60% of what the actual rate is insane. Another really big tip is to ask for the contract to be reevaluated after 6 months to a year in case your workload is more than agreed upon. This is generally if your contracts are anywhere from like 2, 3, 4 years long. There are only a few companies I know, at least in my industry, that give out contracts that are at like the 3-year mark. So it's just really important to be able to reevaluate based on the workload you're currently doing. You want to make sure you're getting the money you deserve. The last tip is professional liability. Again, when you work with a contracting company, they'll tell you what their requirements are. I think I pay probably like $3,000 a year for my professional liability insurance, among some other stuff. It also depends on the industry and the work that you'll be doing. So these are just a few contractor quick tips. Let me know if you want to know more. You know I'll be the first person to tell you not to trust a coworker, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't foster some sort of a relationship with them. The job market is bleak, okay? Half of these job postings out here have zero intention of actually hiring people. How is it that we had over 9 million job postings in September and less than 2% of those openings were actually filled in October? Well, here are some reasons hiring managers gave for having job postings but actually not wanting to hire anybody. They wanted to make it look like the company was growing. They wanted to ensure the people who work at the company that they were trying to get those people help. And then some of them just said that they're looking for the perfect candidate, which we know doesn't even exist. So what does this have to do with coworkers? You're more likely to get a job from someone you used to work with or for, especially in this job market. Last night I had dinner with an old coworker and they were telling me that they now have hiring power and that when they're able to hire someone for their team, the first person they're going to hire is me. This is another coworker who was telling me someone on another team within their company was hiring and that they talked to them for me. And this is another old coworker who we were just catching up because I keep in touch with all the people I previously worked with that I actually liked. And they were telling me that there's some senior executive roles at their company that I think I would be really good for and they would love to recommend me. When you're easy to work with and you maintain good relationships, genuine relationships with people, you will never have to worry about looking for a job again, even during bad economic times such as right now. I'm not even looking for a job. I didn't ask. And you won't ever have to ask if you maintain strong and good relationships with people in your industry. You're not going to work with your current coworker forever, okay? They're going to go on to somewhere else and you're going to go on to somewhere else. And if you want to cast a wide net of opportunities for yourself, maintain those relationships. I'm not saying trust them with, your social security number and tell them everything about your life story, but I am saying there's possibility in building relationships with people, genuine relationships with people, without feeling like you have to compromise what is private to you. The best time to find a job is going to be the first half of 2024, and there's going to be a lot of competition. So these are the interview questions that I'm asking to stand out. Keep in mind, whenever I'm asking interview questions, I generally give context as to why I'm asking. Question number 1, is knowledge transfer prioritized within this organization? If so, how? Within the next 5 years, baby boomers are going to be leaving the workforce at an exponential rate. People who were born in 1959 are turning 65 this year, and in 2025, people born in 1960 will be turning 65. Baby boomers can be a little bit aggy. However, when they leave the organization, a lot of knowledge leaves with them. Experience is the best teacher and they have a lot of it. By asking this question, I want the organization to know that I'm invested in the company's long-term growth and remaining with the organization for an extended period of time. Number 2, is the company open to me utilizing AI tools such as WordTune to optimize my productivity? This question, chef's kiss. By asking this question, you signal 2 things to the interviewer. 1, you understand that AI is starting to integrate itself into the workforce, and rather than be scared and feel like it's going to take your job, you're using it to empower your positioning in the industry. It also signifies that you're probably going to be someone who works hard because you're already talking about productivity and it's just the interview. When I mention WordTune in my interviews, a lot of people don't know what it is, so it gives me an opportunity to teach the interviewer. It also gives me an opportunity to tell the interviewer how I'm actually going to use it to help me with my jobs. I read a lot of FDA guidances, and WordTune basically takes an article and summarizes it for you. In my interview, I'll explain that that's what I do and it helps me take in information more quickly so I can do a job better. Number 3, how often does the team work an irregular schedule? Look, I don't care what anybody says. Mental health is very important to me in the workplace. I'm not about to lose my mind because you're crazy. I ask this question also to understand what I'm stepping into. If I'm going to be stepping into an organization that requires me to work 80 hours a week, I need to know that. And the best way to get the truth about what the work schedule is, what the work-life balance is to ask the person you're interviewing with about their schedule. Number 4, when was the last time you had to correct a colleague or a direct report, and how did you go about handling the situation? It's essentially for me to assess the behavior of the person I'm interviewing. You would be surprised, a lot of people tell on themselves. I've had people answer this question in an interview and say, sometimes my direct reports, they'd ask the dumbest questions. Just based on the vibes of how they answer it, I can assess that they're either an impatient person or they're just not willing to teach other people. Not saying that I need to be taught, but I don't want to work with someone who lashes out at people for no reason. And the last and final question is there anything in my resume or in this conversation that makes you feel I may not be successful for this role? I ask this question all the time, and it gives me the opportunity to assess any deficiencies that the interviewer may have observed in my application, in my interview, or on my resume. 2024 is going to be the year of abundance. Ask those interview questions, and I guarantee you'll stand out.
Thank you so much for staying until the end of the video. And thank you so much to all the new subscribers. I'm so grateful for every single one of you. And let me know in the comments. Kaya definitely dropped some massive gems in this video. Let me know in the comments. Are you in a full-time role? Do you want to start looking for contract roles? Did you get laid off? Or are you just currently browsing for a new role? Tune back in every day for a brand new video and stay pretty, ladies.